siren. It's going off right now. And
Perfect.
yeah, it goes off throughout Wichita. So at noon, and it's like every Monday we go live at noon. So it's like I'm kind of fighting it. It's funny, but all right. So let's kind of get this thing kicked off here. And I made that reference because Terry is from Wichita, and it looks like we got like 6 participants here. So look like a few people are trickling in. What's going on in the world today? What's up, Marius? Jay-Z? What's going on, guys? So I love it when we get to have icon agents from my hometown on here. We've had a couple of them over, we'll just say since we kicked off the 2% Monday Mastermind series, and they're all holding their own. One guy, Steven, went from 30 units to over 300. Ben Myers is an internet prospecting machine, does over 100 and some units, all here in Wichita that I think you guys heard recently. And now we got Tara, and so she just recently iconed with us. And she's been in real estate for a while, and I'm pretty excited to kind of hear her story today and in the topic for sure. And she just iconed in the last month with us, so congratulations, Tara, for that. And like when I was just chatting with her for a few minutes before we kicked off and went live here, it was like, we all survived the eye of the market shift for the most part, right? Because I believe whoever can make it to this spring, and I've been saying this since last August, whoever can make it to this spring, you like, congratulations, you like made it to level 5 to like Jahambi or some like weird game where it's like, they're dying off. And it's like, I believe the market's going to be set and we're going to know what it's going to feel like and look like over the next 3, possibly 5 years, but at least for the next 3, as people still, kind of, fade out or make that commitment to double down. And how do you make that commitment to double down? Income's down, transactions are down, loans are down. Just the overall feel, could be negative depending on which group or TV broadcast you listen to. I don't watch TV. I shut it off. I ain't turning it on in forever. Like I'd asked somebody about something on the news the other day, and they were like, that was a long time ago. And I was like, oh, that was like during COVID, like literally like a year and a half ago. I was like, I remember that, but it was just like they were referencing it. And I thought it was something new. You got to really protect your space. You really got to reframe the way that you look at stuff and your mental model and being able to take action, through like rejection. But to me, this market is exactly where we were at in 2010, 11, 12, 13, much more of a balanced market, oversaturated. And so you're really going to have to differentiate yourself and, build a business and, actually have, like, we'll just say an active database, right? And that you're really putting people through the pipe drive with a cash conversion cycle that is a lot longer than just hopping in your car and writing as many offers as you can or uploading listings to MLS for whatever price tag, you and the seller can agree upon. And so you got to have like a why. And I don't think if you've been in real estate for longer than like 5 years, you don't know what this really feels like, right? And so it's uncomfortable. And even for some of the people like myself that's been around, it's like we're working more, we're having to double down, we're having to make changes to have a business that represents, those times. And so I love being able to recycle my pain, at least for me. You guys, a lot of you guys know my story and, where I come from. And I talked a little bit about that in Cabo, Mexico. And it's like, you have to keep the main thing, right? And being able to recycle your pain and know why you got started in real estate anyways. Why? Like, what are you trying to accomplish, right? And then being able to stoke that fire and get that fire lit again. And I don't know what it's going to take for you to get yours lit. And that was one of my slides in Cabo and kind of what I was talking about, recycling the pain. And so I was excited to hear this topic because I think when you get into the passion and the intent with the purpose of what you're trying to do, that's the rawness of what makes all of this great outside of the transactions, the volume, the commissions, and all of that stuff. It ties back to the service, the client, your family. And so, Tara, I'm going to turn it over to you. I'm going to take some notes, but I'm excited to, learn about your big why and congratulations on iconing and how you do it.
Well, thanks so much, Adam. I really appreciate it. And I love that you spoke on the mental aspect of this, industry and our current market that we're shifting through right now. And a little bit of my story is going to tie back to that. So I'm Tara. I've been in real estate almost 9 years now. I'm from Southern California, born and raised. I've been in Wichita the last 12 years. Prior to that, I lived in Texas, and I'm going to get into a little bit of my story, and a little bit of what makes me tick. And I'm also going to tie it back to the mental aspect and, what you put into the universe is, in my experience, what you get out of it. So I'll start with a little bit of my past. So I don't come from the easiest of backgrounds. I've struggled in pretty much every single aspect of life that you can. My dad walked out on me when I was 9. I struggled with, not going into it too much in detail, but I struggled with using food as control, ended up in the hospital like 80 pounds, 5'5". That was a really scary part of my past. And then when I was, 19, 20, I met the father of my child. Again, was just not in a good place mentally, used that relationship as, just trying to fill that void inside of me with anything that I could. And these are just a couple small examples of things that I've been through. But when I was 23 years old, I had an experience where, I was in an altercation with the father of my child, and that altercation almost cost me my life. And during that moment, it was almost like a out of body experience for me. I had never really been super, into my spirituality or my faith prior to this experience. But during that experience, I truly knew that there's no way I would have survived that had something else not stepped in. And I know when we're in those situations, adrenaline is flowing. We're really, really pumped, and we become a lot stronger than we are. But there's just no way I would have survived that experience had something else not been stepping in and also watching over me. So that's really when I became super, in tune and interested in my spirituality and, something greater than myself being, the universe. And a week after that, I found out I was pregnant. So here I am in Texas, alone, pregnant. My ex has gone off to prison at this point. And so here I am, 23, homeless and pregnant. My parents and some of my immediate family was here in Wichita. And so I made that choice at 23, homeless, pregnant, to move here with nothing. I maybe had a shirt and a couple pairs of pants. I literally had nothing to my name. And I just knew from the moment I found out I was pregnant, I was like, I'm done. Whatever I have done in my past is my past. I'm done. I'm moving on. I just knew from the moment I found out that I was going to do whatever it took to be successful. There was nothing more important in my life at that point than setting a good example for my daughter. And when I had my daughter, that was a whole nother experience for me. I've never experienced any sort of love on this earth that is greater than the love a parent has for their child. And so again, at that point, I just knew there's nothing that's going to stand in my way. I'm going to do whatever it takes to be successful. And it definitely was not easy. There was times I was going to school full time and working full time. My daughter was a newborn in daycare for 16 hours a day. It was really, really challenging mentally at that point, but I just knew, you know what, I'm going to keep pushing. And fast forward, I have, I've been in real estate now almost 9 years, and I was with Keller Williams for 7 years, just a small mom and pop brokerage for a little bit, went back to KW, and this last year, pretty much early July, I joined EXP. Definitely would never go back to any of the brokerages I've been with. This brokerage really sets a different type of platform for you. I love their model. I love the way they do things. And, my team is also thrilled about joining EXP. There's a lot of added benefit to being with EXP. So I will talk to you a little bit about my business life. So currently I have a team of 8 people. 3 of those people are admins, so there's 5 of us in production. We have just started a mortgage brokerage, so that really hasn't even been announced yet. I'm kind of announcing that here. Literally just started a mortgage brokerage. I own 29 properties by myself. I do not co-own any of those properties with anybody else. And I also own a co-working space. So in that co-working space, we house a title company, a group of wholesalers, my team, and then the mortgage business. So, there's still times I am like, my mental health is not always the greatest because there's a lot going on. So there's still times I don't want to get out of bed in the morning. But I always, always, always remember, my daughter is the best reminder that I have that, hey, you have got to keep pushing, so there's been so many recent situations over the last couple of years in my business world that have really, again, made me just mentally not in the greatest of places. I've had somebody on my team that thought I was really close to steal my entire database that I've spent about $100,000 on. I had a property manager steal about $70,000 from me. And so now I don't trust anybody else to manage my properties. So that has also fallen onto me. And there's been just several other challenges. I've had ex-employees do crazy things. But one thing I do know is when something bad happens, so long as you manifest and you keep a positive mindset through all things, the universe repays you tenfold. I can just tell you in those moments when I was like, why is this happening to me? How am I going to get through this? I just kept praying, and if you're not a person of faith, that's okay. Find something greater than yourself to lean into, because I promise you, I have built my entire career and my entire life on the power of manifestation. I truly believe that what you think about yourself, what you think about your life, what you think about your business, you're going to manifest that and create it. I'm a prime example of that. So, that is, what I know to be true. And in one example, I had an incident with an ex-employee that trashed one of my properties. And, at that time I was like, oh my gosh, I'm just so tired of this. But, insurance paid out on that deal. And at that point, it didn't even matter anymore, so that's just one small example of when I know that I've, kept the faith and kept the right mindset, the universe repays you. That database of 4,000 that she stole, we have 32,000 people in our database now. That was just a year ago. So what you think and what you put out there comes back tenfold. And I promise that. You just have to remember, what is it that I got into this industry to do, and find what you're passionate about. If it's a niche, we work with a lot of investors. I love listings. Those are things that I truly enjoy doing. I love helping people out of bad situations. And so I've really leaned into that. And I've really used that as my model in my career that, if somebody's in a bad situation, I want to help them. I got into this industry to help people. I don't do things that are shady. I don't do things unethically. If you get into the business and you're really rocking and rolling, just remember, when you're an ethical agent and you treat your clients with honesty, fairness, respect, that's an oath we took, so you should already be doing those things. But I promise I've built a huge referral business just on doing the right things. When you do the right things, again, the universe repays you for that as well. And I am a firm believer on that. So I'm not going to harp on all that good stuff, but, I just wanted to share a little bit of my story. Some of you are new to the industry. And I could tell you from the very beginning, there's a lot of fear about, getting into the real estate business. At first you might think, oh, this is going to be awesome. My phone's going to ring. Everybody's just going to call me, but it does not happen like that unless you're just a rock star where you live. and know a bunch of people, you really have to hustle. There is no ands, ifs, or buts. You have to hustle and, lean into great mentors and people in the industry that will have your back and educate you at any point that they can, because, you're going to need that. And I know that I've had some really great mentors in this industry, and, that was detrimental to my business. So, I just wanted to speak on that to you guys. You just have to stay motivated and be determined. Failure is not an option. And I promise, the more times you lean into that fear, the more cold calls you make, the more times you're like, oh, I really don't want to hop on the phones right now. If you just do it, you're going to be so much more fulfilled by the time you're done, because you're going to have accomplished those fears. You're not going to be sitting here saying, well, I didn't hit my contacts today. I didn't set an appointment today. I wish I would have stayed on the phones longer. Just do it. Get it done. Get it knocked out. One of my favorite quotes is, you are the universe, but society teaches limitation. Because that's the truth. As young children, we're taught, our parents say, don't do that. That's dangerous. Stop that. So as young people, those things are instilled, that fear is instilled into us. So as we get older, we have to really, step outside of that, be willing to step outside of the box and, just do it. I promise, if you do it, you're going to feel so much better than if you wouldn't have done it. So the only thing holding you back is your fear. And once you get through that, I promise you, there's situations I'm in today that would have terrified me when I got into real estate. And I don't even blink twice at them, because it's just another day. We're going to always have things that come up. There's still new things that come up for me. So there's going to always be things that come up, and it's how you handle those things. And it's the mindset you have that, helps you work through those things. If you come from a fear-based mindset, well, if you're projecting that onto your clients, they're going to fear that. They're going to feel that, and they're going to become fearful as well. So, just remember, you got to handle yourself with grace, poise, and tact, and just do it. There's no magic wand to wave that's going to make you successful in real estate. You have to really, really hustle, and you have to go for it. So with that being said, I just want to touch on one more thing. And, my big why is definitely my daughter. I see her every single day. And as a single mom, my main objective is to set a good example for her and make sure that she sees that if you work hard, you can literally accomplish anything you want in this world. And I truly believe that there are no limits. And something else that I'm really passionate about is I own an apartment complex right now, and I actually now have the ability to work with Section 8 in rehousing people that are suffering from homelessness. So that's something I'm super passionate about as well. And, I always said when I made it to a certain level in this industry, I was going to give back. And now I'm blessed to be able to, lean into that and give back, pretty much on a weekly basis to people that are suffering or in need, or, friends and family that are not doing well. So that's really been a blessing in my life. And, all the money in the world isn't going to fulfill you if you don't find something that is greater than yourself and seek outside of yourself to grow and become, the person that you really want to be, because that's where your happiness is going to come from. Your happiness is going to come from, your fulfillment will come from doing things outside of yourself and giving back to others. So I'm a firm believer in that. So that's all I have.
All right. So I like the being able to tap into the why part. Usually our Monday mastermind motivation stuff, or not motivation, Monday mastermind 2% call usually goes about 45 minutes or so. I love that you set the tone with that. I'll probably ask you some questions just to kind of pull out, some stuff that is already inside of you. You know what I mean? From a tactical standpoint, it's like the why is there, and the why has to be before the how. But, okay, we love that, being able to, just restart with a t-shirt, father is, off going to prison, and, you're able to just pull through and just do it, and, I mean, I don't know a lot about you, but, I do know you dated my brother for a while too, right? So I've been around your daughter and, and you, and so, to see you here just doing it, it's fascinating to see, because it's like people's perception can always be whatever, right? But you can't deny action, net results, tenacity, perseverance and stuff like that. And I just love that you have all that stuff. Now, the how to, it's like, how did you get these 29 rentals? You know what I mean? Like, how did you acquire those? How did you rebuild your database so fast? Maybe give us, some of the how to some of that stuff.
Well, I love that you asked me about how I acquired those rentals, because that's something I am super passionate about educating on too, because like I said, we work with a ton of investors, and I literally started with, I bought a $30,000 house back in 2014. It was the smallest house out of every single house that I looked at. And, it was, but I knew that it was in a good location, and so I didn't do anything hardly with that house except live in it until the pandemic. And once the pandemic rolled around, I was able to have some of my contractors remodel it. And once they remodeled it, I took out a refi on it. So I bought this house for $30,000. Took me years to, save up the money to be able to actually do anything with the property. And once I got the house fully remodeled, I did inside and out. I was able to refinance it. I pulled $80,000 out of that property. It appraised for $145,000. So I'm 30,000 starting point, took a loan on it, a private loan on it. And then, I have $23,000 in it. So, that's 43 or $53,000 total in it, and it appraised for 145,000. So I pulled that equity out of it, and I sought out as many agents as I could, other agents besides myself, to see what opportunities they have. And I owner financed my apartment complex. So I went from a $30,000 house to a property that's worth, $1.3 million. And I refinanced it, and now I am selling that property. So I'm currently, starting to buy some flips now. But, I'll have made about $500,000 on that transaction. And it all started with a $30,000 house. So
what year was all that in?
And so I bought the little $30,000 house in 2014. Was not able to do anything until 2020. So, there's some time.
You still got it when the market was still down. It was coming out of like really the last recession. So that's perfect, and I guess, it's a blessing you for everything you went through and all that. That's crazy. And that kind of got your foot into the game. And then you're just going and, with the Burr method, going and buying, refinancing back out, and just doing it that way. Like what's your rule of thumb with maybe how much are you trying to refinance back out, a percentage or amount per door to cash flow on, or what, what's that like?
So, if I'm going to buy a property I don't have a ton of rentals other than my apartment complex, and that little Riverside house. But so like, for example, I have a loan now on the Riverside house for I think I only owe like 70,000 left, but with doing that remodel, now I rent that house out for $1,200 a month. So you got to think about that. If my mortgage is about 750 or whatever it is, it's around there. Well, I still have a positive cash flow. Always go on the 1% rule, 1%, or, if you can keep it under that, buy a property for 80,000 that you can rent out for, 1,100. That's always my rule of thumb on rentals, is you need to be able to positive cash flow or it doesn't make sense, so, as far as the my building that I own, that I already knew I wanted to have a building where I could not only house my real estate team, but also, I could, have other industry related businesses co-oping together. So that was kind of the vision for that. So now again, we have title and we have a group of wholesalers, so off-market properties, and we all in the mortgage side of the business, and everybody pays rent, and I have no mortgage on a 5,000 square foot building. So that was the idea there, was to house my team and not have a mortgage. And I don't even have to pay taxes or utilities. Everything is covered in the rents. So,
Okay.
yeah.
So it sounds like a majority of the doors are tied to the building. It sounds like, or like how many doors are in the apartment complex?
So I own a 24 unit apartment complex.
4. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I
And
missed
then,
that. Okay.
yeah.
Cool. And man, that's awesome. And so, I mean, what's your goals from here? I mean, for me personally, I guess we'll kind of, stay on the rental deal for a few more minutes, and then I want to switch to some of the lead generation, some of the conversion stuff. Teams are really built out of a necessity because the overflow of, we'll just say appointments or generating too much business, right? And, being able to also stay in high leverage situations with, let's say, listings and give your buyers out. And when I think about the rentals I had, my brother obviously going rehab them, I'm getting them, and but the single family homes and stuff like that, after a while, I got tired of messing with it, and it just, for whatever reason, I ended up, well, I know I went through a divorce, so I had to sell some of them, after 20 years of being together or whatever, like 3.5 years ago. And so I had to cash her out, which is like, been with someone that long. It was like, I was like, not happy to do it, but it was like, I shut things down to do it. And then I kept like really a good couple, 3-4 ones, that were really good ones, and or paid off, cash flowing and stuff like that. And yeah, our average sales price in Wichita is now around 200,000. When I was actually got into this game 13 years ago, it was 110, 120. Average rent was $500-600. Now it's a little more than that, right? But for me, I pulled out and got rid of all my single family homes. I bought a big Airbnb, a lake house. I can sleep 12. It's for many different reasons. I purchased it, lifestyle, personal use, and then Airbnb, and because I can get $1,200 a night, off of it. It's a little more even in the higher season. And so, I changed my strategy a little bit from our masterminds with Brent that I just got back from Cabo with, and met some people that, were doing it that way. And I'm like, man, I could get this money out and do something differently with it, or get it to turn over a lot faster. And I tell, a lot of the younger agents up and coming around here, like they just I want to go buy a rental. I need more rentals or whatever. But it's like, after you're paying your taxes, your insurance, somebody tears it up once or twice, you're fixing it back up. It's like, we're trying to build wealth, like what you were saying, right? You're not going to cash flow off of it. And so there's easier and some other avenues to take. And so what is the next step from the apartment complex? I know for me, I pivoted more to the Airbnb stuff. Like I want to get, somewhere in the mountains skiing. Lincoln just turned 8. He went and did that a couple years ago. He was with his mom this last year during, the snow season, but he wants to go back. And so it's like, why not get one out there? Right. And it just makes sense. And so like, do you have a strategy beyond the apartment complex?
Oh, you always have a plan B, C, D, E, F, G, but I do want to shoot back to something that you said, and you spoke to what the market was like when I purchased that property. And I want to speak to that because I think that's a really valid point to speak on.
Right.
Opportunity is not just going to create itself. Like if you want to get into the game and you don't have very much money, go out there and freaking door knock houses you want to be in. Somebody might owe a bunch back on their back property taxes. You never know what the situation is. You can find, I owner financed my building for $0 down, nothing down. Go out there, talk to other agents in your area, talk to whoever the heck because you got to go out there and create the opportunity. Opportunity is still out there, even though the market has shifted. I'm still buying flips that I'm going to make 60 or 70 grand on, with doing little work to them. They're out there. You got to go find them. You're not going to find opportunity sitting on your ass, excuse my language, but you're not.
Yeah.
So,
Well, yeah, I mean, we're a prospecting based industry that's enhanced by marketing, and people have just got away with a little bit of the marketing. And we'll just say the social proof was there, especially if you've been in the business for a couple of years at that time. So the SOI was coming frequently and easily. And so was a lot of the third party live transfers and different things that you didn't have to do to fish on your own or be proactive. The deals are definitely out there, right? But it's like I got started in a down market. I got started when everybody was getting out of the industry. We had 300 signs in yards and 9 homes pending. That's crazy. I thought that was normal. I couldn't even give the houses away with a free fruit cake. It's like if we could give them away. But what you got to do is start, right? And it don't matter your age, it don't matter where you're at. None of that matters. It just matters. This is where I'm starting from. This is the level of experience that I'm starting from. And then it's go time. Like I was making $300 a week in this game when I got going in a down market, right? And then as things started to shift back around, I was able to ride away. But my work ethic was there. The marketing, the systems, the tools, the execution, the team building, all of that stuff was put in place. So when the market started to turn, like, the person, Brian, my other partner, he lives in over $1 million house, say here in Wichita. And it's like people see what we have now, but what Brian did early on, we'd be making calls at the office too, right? Like he was one of the original 5 people that was with us when we built up to, being top 10 in the nation. He was going and living in properties with Ashley, his wife, now. And, they would be rehabbing houses like where they lived in them. And like he started off slow, no money, and then he flipped that one or sell it and move up to the next one. But, you have to sign that piece of paper that are you going to occupy it or are you an investor in the people that are occupying it? They get the break, right? And he needed the break. That was the only way he could get into the game. And so I remember Brian, like literally for like 5, 6, 7 years was living in these houses, but he kept flipping up and basically stacking the equity up and stacking up wealth. And the houses kept getting bigger, just kept getting nicer all the way until he even sold this last one to get into the house. So he's at immaculate houses. And, and now he's owned hundreds of different rentals and buildings and stuff and sold them and did them all, built it all back, not with a lot of money up front, but being creative with the hustle, finding the deal, structuring the deal, understanding, the position, that you have to be able to help someone, but also understanding the reality of where they're at as well, to make it fair and knowing your numbers, at least on the investing side. And so I just think all of those deals are out there. We had to flip more stones over to find those deals. And so that's just what it is. It's like, are you going to flip more stones over? Or, there's still going to be closings, it's like inventory wasn't down even this last year when people were like, we have inventory issues. It's like, we really didn't have inventory issues. We had the most amount of homes selling across the country in the history of like NAR's records. We basically had a skill set issue if you wasn't communicating with the people that were selling and being able to work with the sellers, right? And in any given market, it's easier to work with the sellers, versus the buyers and so on and so forth. That's why it's called buyer market versus seller's market. So I like it, and I love the motivation behind it. I got a couple of I got a guy Florida on here. He's a younger guy, a sponsored, kind of has another job. He texted me when you were speaking and was like, this was exactly what I needed to hear. And every week on this call is a little bit different to see how they icon and all that stuff. But, I'm more fascinated with the way that I've done it, it's like we had to pick up the phone, we had to call people, we had to position ourselves, make real offers, build systems out, demonstrate leadership. And I'm still working on all that stuff in a modern way to do what I'm doing now. And it's like golf. It's like you never really get it figured out or dialed in. There's just levels to it. So like, how long were you a single agent for? What made you start a team? And like, yeah, you said you love working with investors and, it's like, did you just work with SOI? Like how much money did you spend when you first started spending money on Google or Yahoo or Bing? Like help us like understand, like you love working with buyer or sellers now, but like, did you start off working with them? What did all that look like?
So yeah, I love that you brought that up as well, because sometimes I get lost in la la land in my head. But yeah, no, I love that. So actually for the first 2 years I had my license, I literally I had a full-time job, and as a single mom, I couldn't quit my job and, I was, operating on fear for a while because it's like, hello, this is commission only, and I had bills to pay. I had a car payment. Like I couldn't just jump ship and, live my life on a prayer, which I would have loved to, but I knew I had to work hard. And so, for the first 2 years, I literally just went to coach as much coaching as I could, whatever program or company you're with. Most of you are probably with EXP. Take advantage of whatever training you can. Shadow as many people as you can. Like literally, you don't even have to be on a team if you don't want to be on a team. I recommend as a new agent being on a team, but reach out to other seasoned agents in your office in your area and ask them to shadow. Like that is the best experience you can have, is to get out there and go do it, and to get on the phone, call your SOI, let everybody know you're in real estate. And, that's a good way to break the ice with hopping on the phones. But so I did that for 2 years. And then I was on my own for a little bit. I had to move back in with my parents, which was a horrible situation. So that really motivated me to get back out of there as fast as possible. But I joined a team, when I moved back in with my parents, and that joining that team and watching somebody else that knows what they're doing, watching what systems and models that they're using, and then, kind of tweaking that into my own. So I was on one team with KW, and then I left that team to join a different team with a mom and pop brokerage. Was on that team for about a year. Anytime I had questions, the team lead was always like, go ask the broker. And so I was like, well, and at that point I had, a couple clients I had worked with, and I was really, really good about following up with them all the time, constantly doing little tiny things to add value to their lives. I would drop off, CMAs every once in a while, like, hey, this is what your home is worth now. And eventually that just one family led to $5 million, my first full-time year in real estate. So just that one family, and giving that good level of service, and, being willing to ask for the referrals. Hey, I would love to work with more buyers like yourself. Do you know anybody that's looking to buy or sell? Or I'd love to work with more clients like yourself. And, being willing to ask for it, people were willing to give it, and they knew that what kind of service, I delivered as well. So, I did not start with a huge database. I only worked what I was given, and I had, a couple people I had met. I met this family in particular that gave me $5 million in business, bartending a KU game or something like that. So, the husband and wife were there, and it was a bunch of other, husbands and wives, and it was just like a third party bartending gig that I had. And so it was awesome. I just did whatever I could to break into the industry. And at the end of 2018, I left that team and just went out on my own. Started with $1,000 a month in Zillow. And that was back when Zillow was actually, a good company where you could get zip codes for a reasonable price. And so after about a year of that, I had built up enough referral business and enough, lead business that I then needed one person to help me. So I hired a buyer's agent. And that agent was very sweet. She was a great girl, but she was pregnant. And, as a new mom, it just was not a good fit because of how busy we were getting.
Mm-hmm.
So I went back to KW and started a team. So it was then me and 2 other people that joined at literally the exact same time. And that year we did about, I think, 9 or 10 million. And then the next year we doubled that. And
So the 9 and 10 million was just done off the $1,000 still you were pumping into Zillow and SOI at that time?
So I think at that point I had started paying like $260 a month for Z-Buyer.
Yeah.
Not big stuff, and then also maybe like $500 or $600 a month on realtor.com. So I'm like $2,000 all in right now at this point. But I will tell where I built the base of my business was constantly following up with my past clients that I had serviced and constantly asking for referral business. You always come from contribution. You got to give and add value, and you got to, deliver a level of service that people actually want to hook you up with their friends and family.
Yeah.
But you treat one person right, they tell people, then you treat their people right, they tell people. So it's a trickling effect,
Yeah. The key is to ask. That's it. Because it's like, look, a majority of my business is referral business. And, I know I have a website and, I send you homes and stuff like that. But, by chance, do you know anyone else that I could potentially talk to or help, with the real estate needs? Like there's a million scripts. We're working on the Rams program, the past client, system right now. That we're helping them set all this stuff up because it's that important. And, for us, we had the raving fans and the past clients and the whole, like that whole system. But the agents, even on our brokerage, didn't even ask for it. We had to have the systems that was kind of doing the storytelling, the invitations, renting the chocolate fountains out, the moving trucks and trying to build that relationship. But really, the way that we taproot, the way I built to 2,500 agents wasn't running ads or marketing or any of that. It was word of mouth, right? It was like, they can help us sell some more houses. Like they're legit. It's like everybody promises you the moon, but who brings you a little bit of a moon rock back? Like you're going to get excited if, you deliver a small moon rock. And then it's like, if you know that you delivered a small moon rock, then ask, because people are willing to help you and they want to see you win, especially if you're a single mom and working in the bar and trying to be an agent like that. It's like $5 million. That's a lot for here in the Wichita area to be, referred back that, to from one family. And so the Michael Mayer's program is like, you want to have 150 relationships where people are like your salespeople or your soldiers, or they are your marketing, right? And the Rams program, instead of investing in Google, Yahoo, Bing, you're investing in the people, like doing contests and, your client appreciation parties and, dinners and different things like that. And so the referrals are legit, and it's like, if you're calling and asking them, I'm sure that, you're just not calling and bugging them, like you're adding that value and making that deposit into that relationship before you ask to make a withdrawal. You got to do that, right? And so I love that you're hitting the phones, you're following up, asking for business, because the technique is called tap rooting, and it's being able to tap root into other people's networks. And that's how, I've scaled, the modern team. It's like we find success and then we'll tap root through to them, because it's a lot easier, to find 10 sharp people than to cold call and try to find 10 sharp people. Good luck. You know what I mean? Or it's like how you could get started with it. And so, if one family that does well and they're well connected, why wouldn't you try to tap root into their network, right? And ask them not once, not twice, but have a systematic approach to that. So I like that. What would you say is the makeup of your guys' business now with the 8 agents? Help me understand, are you still spending that same amount of money? How did you replace this database that you talked about? That's a lot of money at 10, 15, maybe. I'm one lead source. I'm spending $90 a pop right now, 10 grand on one lead source a month, like about 400 leads coming in off that. So like, what do you spend today? What's the makeup of your team, like in terms of buyer seller ratio? And how did you rebuild a database so fast?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And so today I don't spend that much more money. I mean, I maybe spend like $5,000 a month versus 2, when I very first got started. So I've actually the more you take these classes, the more, I'm always trying to be a sponge for anything that I can learn, because, once you stop learning, your brain is shut off. You know what I mean? You're not open anymore. So, I paid attention to a lot of the wholesalers in my office. I paid attention to a lot of the investing, videos or whatever I could watch. And so now I've partnered with some people that are in my office to do some artificial intelligence stuff. So we can get online and look at people's habits. It was a one-time fee of $25,000, but I split that with some people. So that was the biggest investment I've made into leads. But that gave us about 10,000 people back into it gave us 10,000 people into our database on top of what we already had. And we also do a ton of circle prospecting. This is something we've recently started really, really pushing and hitting hard, is when you have a listing, you need to take your butt around, door knock, find out if these people have anyone that they want to be their neighbors. And, that's a good way to get your listing out. We also will pull that area and do what's called skip tracing. It's 10 cents a lead. We have a system that we use for that. And so I can literally pull 100 addresses for, pennies on the dollar. So that's another way. You got to be careful with that because of the do not call, TCPA rules. But that is another way we've added a ton of leads to our database, is circle prospecting our listings.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I love that. It's like, even where I'm at now, I bought, probably around the same time you did, got this as a foreclosure short sale. I had to come in and fix it up, do some stuff. But the whole reason we were looking in this area was my best friend lived in this area, and he had a couple of kids, that were young. And so like, it made sense, to move out west here to kind of, be by him. Now he moved to a different area. But usually when a house sells or comes on the market, usually you have somebody, a family member or a friend or somebody that's just a relative that's trying to get, close to someone that lives in that area for whatever reason, you name it. Right. And so, without a doubt, doing the just sold or just listed or exclusive private showings to the neighborhood, open house before it's open to the public, to build that curiosity, because everybody's like, oh, I'm going to come down there and look at it. But no, we're giving the neighborhood a chance to see it before anyone else, to really, create that fear of like, missing out on something if it's like just available to them. I love that. And also homes sell. Like when a few homes sell in one area, we know usually a couple more are going to sell, right? Especially if they like the price. It's like, well, I didn't know that's what it's worth now, right? Like similar to your house that you got started out with, I'm sure when you sold that, and it's like the amount of profit you made off of it, I'm sure a few others that had been holding for that amount, that same time frame, ended up selling. So I like that. So it sounds like you built the database, rebuilt it from, a little bit of, the data out there where you get to track what type of, stuff they're buying at Lowe's or whatever to predict that they're going to be selling within the next year. Right. And that stuff is, becoming, more and more like available to us. Right. And so it was kind of like you bought data, but it wasn't just data that you bought skip tracing data, you bought data that's being analyzed off of buying behavior. They could be buying paint, they could be buying a bunch of baby stuff, whatever. And then, people are building this technology that they're running it through that is tagging them as a potential, seller, way before they even tell anybody, or maybe even done searches on the internet about a real estate agent or looked at that many homes. And so that's kind of cool. And you're just rebuilding it, the old fashioned way. I like the cold calling, especially right now. If you don't have anything else to do, you need to be surveying neighborhoods. And so when she talks about circle prospecting, for any of you newer people on here, is basically, you're targeting a neighborhood, hopefully with, over, 8% turnover rate. I like to see 9% turnover rate. For whatever reason, I can talk about that later, but it's like you're not just calling them and asking them if they're looking to sell or can I list your house or try to get a listing appointment. You're basically, taking the approach of surveying them, if they're looking to potentially sell in the next year. And, you almost want to do it unbranded, white label, non-aggressive, like we're just surveying the neighborhood, part of the neighborhood market, watch update, blah, blah, blah. You get in exchange for maybe hopefully some value is what the email address is what you're looking for. So they're opting into, receiving hyper local updates about their home, their neighbor's home, and you're positioned as that trusted advisor in that area, surveying, not necessarily selling. And so that's what I would be doing. I wouldn't be out knocking on doors or anything like that, but I'm not going to knock that because there's some people that crush it that way. I just worked at MCI in high school and, I built my stuff off the phones. And so being able to take data, because this is what people are going to miss. And it's like, the leads are gone. It's like whoever has the better data management, whether it's 10 cents leads or like me, $100 leads with some of my stuff, whoever manages that data the best to build that relationship wins, because there's called a value exchange that has to happen to get that 10-cent lead to a $5 lead, and then $5 to 15, so on and so forth, all the way up to, is it getting set by an ISA, or is it just straight coming from Google or Zillow, or is it a live transfer or whatever? And so there's different values in the leads that get incubated, but everything started as one piece of data. And so I just think the more that you take inside sales seriously, and the more that you take database building seriously and control that process, to have predictability in that pipeline for sellers, and then being able to take the current assets that you have to leverage them like you guys are doing. And for an example, I would even be hitting FSBOs up, and you're not necessarily calling to get a listing appointment per se. You're calling to add them to a database. It's like you got a seller sheet in front of you. Hey, I was just calling to get your permission to add you to my database of buyers. I was going to syndicate this out. See if my best fit reverse lookup would be able to match some buyers. And so I just need a little bit of information. And it's like, do I have your permission? And they're going to be like, is this cost me money or what? And it's like, well, I got, thousands of buyers, or a few thousand or whatever. And could be a few hundred in this area that's looking, right. And you truly do, if you have a database. Then you send that out, and then you follow up with them like a week later, let them know maybe the results, or ask them some additional questions about time frame, motivation, what they're trying to achieve, why they're selling in the first place, and getting into that, and then making another offer about, hey, I don't do this for everyone, but I seem to like you, and I want to be able to help you, and take that law of reciprocity, and don't ask for anything in return yet. And so hold an open house for them. Take that asset and create some foot traffic to come in there, but you want to try to get a mutual agreement up front of, hey, if I do sell this, will you pay me whatever, 3, 4, whatever, not 6 or 7, whatever. And you could end on 2 or 4, whatever. It doesn't matter. You're just taking that and starting to build a database off someone else's asset. If you sell it, great. However, but the buyers and the sellers that come through there, you're able to now start working with them, and you didn't invest anything but your time. And the seller is going to look at you like a hero on the for sale by owner side. We know after 72 days on average per NAR that if they have to sell, right, then they're going to hire the first person traditionally that they came in contact with. And if you're 2 months into this, you've done an open house for them, they know you've syndicated your property out, you've showed them analytics with your database, you've also positioned and story told some of maybe your testimonials, or shared some social proof. Who do you think is going to get that listing when that timing is right? You. And so being able to be creative, like she was mentioning here, through taking something and turning it into nothing because your why is big and it's on fire. I love that. And that's exactly what it's going to take.
Yep. And one more thing off what you just said, that's a lot. You could you could spin your wheels doing a little bit of everything. But what I would suggest is, if you're a newer agent, consider joining a team that has a lot more resources than you do. Or, pick one thing. Just pick one thing you really want to focus on that you're going to like. If it's business to business, you want to go meet, local business owners, go there, say, hey, I'd love to bring coffee to you guys one day, or whatever, go brew them some coffee if you don't have the money, you know what I mean? So, there's just so many different things. If you like for sale by owners,
Yeah, I love that. Pick your niche. That's what I've been telling people. Less is more. Pick your niche. And we're big on marketing and adding these pillars in, but I'm like, you just can't add them all in because the language is different. The psychology is different. The mastery of it's different. And so go deep, like what she said, on that one niche, and become that true expert in it, and then get it predictable all the way from the valid conversation from opening the call to months later closing it, right? Or, even 6, 7, 8, 9 months, just get the numbers down. And then add the next one in, and make sure, you got the staff or the people around to help to where things don't suffer. I love that. Now, the second thing about the team, I think everybody should start on a team, but I'm also biased. I came in and got mentored by a really sharp gentleman, and I stayed with him, and a lot of people asked me why I stayed with him for as long as I did. And I ended up getting ownership and running it and building a coaching company and doing a lot of things. And it's like Remax was offering me a lot more money, and all types of different numbers have really been thrown at me. And I always stayed where the money was less than anyone else was offering. And I tell people this all the time. I wasn't done learning, you know what I mean? And it was like I stayed committed and I stayed loyal to the situation, and it's paid off tenfold. And so even when you're on a team, yeah, you outgrow situations and you might have to leave because you can't force them to grow, right? But I had someone that was growth minded. And so even if you're on this team, it's being able to take those resources that they're already investing into you or the team and building your own brand and your own name on top of that. Because even when I broke off and, did my own thing, I was my own brand and my own entity, even though I was wrapped up in that because of what I had done for building that. And then I ended up having ownership in it too. And so it's fascinating. And when people were like, how did you do what you have done in a short amount of time, 13 years, it's like, there's a whole story behind it. It's like, I started out being paid $300 an hour. I was selling insurance and the market crashed 08, 09, and I was doing well for myself at Aflac. And I just had hit my 5th year and basically struggled through that. I'd only made $11,000 5 years before that, rolling around in an 89 Buick, windows wouldn't roll down, buying my clothes at the Salvation Army, dress clothes so I could go sell clothes in the heat. And so when there's a will, there's a way. And if it wasn't for the last downturn, my ego and where I was at, I would have never met this gentleman. Or even when we did cross paths and, he was making me an offer, I was like, I'm not going to be an agent. I'm not going to come work on your team. And so I went in looking for opportunity, not a job. And so the $300 came from, I was like, we can set appointments. We can do this, that, and the third, because he was an inbound listing business off the radio and then had no internet leads. No, it's just, I knew that what he needed, I could build. And so I said, pay me $100 for a confirmed set appointment. And it was humbling to me because it was much tougher, the market shift and a big investment. I watched him lose $100,000 on me and kept pumping money in, and we about pulled the plug on everything until it was like, boom, it just started to click. Right. And then I built up out of it, and I wouldn't be where I'm at if I didn't stay on a team as long as I did. And now I'm, build teams and modern teams. And so I think you hit the nail on the head with that. And I think a lot of mergers and opportunity are coming out of this shift where it's like, we might not have never partnered before. We might never worked on a project before, but now it's forcing all of us to get better and pull our resources together. And we're going to figure it out as we do it together. You know what I mean? Instead of as an ego independent hero. And so I love that you said that, because I think a lot of people, miss that.
Yeah, I agree 1000%. Yeah. I mean, and even if you join a team and you grow and are successful, there's plenty of teams that, their model is team expansion. Like, we're going into another market, take this, be my partner and go take over this office, or stay here and I'm going to move to Florida to open this office. Or, they're building businesses within businesses. You can build a team within a team. Don't let that don't let your ego stop you from going where you want to go. I see a lot of that. And it's like, just because you're on a team doesn't mean that, you are that entire brand. Like, you can build your business inside of a business.
Yeah, the celebrity marketing, people, get caught up on the name on the sign and, all that stuff. And, we definitely built a big celebrity brand, but then we debranded and built Select Homes off of, that individual's name. And that was a process. And, and so the people that are with you around or with you, it's like they want to feel like they're building some other than maybe just your name. And so you do evolve and grow for sure. But it's bigger than the name. It's about the clients. It's about the service. It's about all of the things that hopefully you're delivering on that differentiate you and keeping the consumer front and center like we did. We're at the top of the hour, guys. Usually we run about 45 minutes to an hour here. So just to recap, guys, she got her big why out in the open and her story, and I loved it. And then we kind of just been rapping, she just iconed with us, moved over in the last year from KW building here in Wichita. And so I love seeing people in my own area crushing it. So congratulations. And if you guys got any other questions, or how can people find you? You Instagram, TikTok, like Facebook, what's your thing? Give them your handle. How can they get a hold of you?
On Instagram, I'll drop it into the chat. Alonzi Group on Facebook. Basically Alonzi Group. Tara is my first name. I'll drop that in here. Would love to be able to help anybody that let me change this. There we go. Would love to help anybody that has any questions. Find me on Facebook, find me on Instagram. Happy to help and be of service in whatever way that I can.
All right, guys, we'll catch you next Monday. If you're catching the replay here, put replay and tell us one of your big takeaways. But Tara, I appreciate your time and I appreciate your hustle. And I love seeing the, rags to riches story. So congratulations on everything you've done.
Appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much for having me.
Later.
Bye.